Hello, welcome to Drupal Over Easy. My name's Nigel. In this tutorial we're going to be doing a bit of mobile development and we're going to be connecting our mobile device to a Drupal web application. Let me just show you a demo of what I mean, just in case you want to follow this tutorial. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is use a development framework called Titanium, and I'm going to start up the iOS iPad emulator, and from there the application is going to connect to my Drupal service, and then it's just going to pull down some photos. And what this will be demonstrating is how to set up a Drupal application and share that with other applications such as other web servers or handheld devices, mobile phones or iPads or etc. Okay, so in this example, the application's just started, and these are actually photographs that are hosted on the remote website, the Drupal site, and I've used a module called Services to make the Drupal application's photos, which is an image gallery, available for this application here. So all this application here is doing is connecting with the Drupal site, and then it's getting the addresses of the photos, and it's just displaying these photos in Titanium's image view here. That's all it does. It's a very basic application, but what it does is demonstrate this tutorial of setting up a Drupal service which provides a Drupal application such as an image gallery. It provides those APIs available to other applications such as this Titanium application which runs on the iPad. Okay, if you're interested in this, I'll show you how to set up a Drupal service in this tutorial and test it, and then we'll do a following tutorial where we'll actually create this application here. Okay, I'll just delete this application, shut this application down. Okay, so one of the things we've done here is created a native application on an iPad. You might say, well, why not just use a web browser running on the iPad? There's a number of reasons why you would want to use a native application. It tends to use up less battery power, less processing power, and you can give it the look and feel of the iOS for iPad or Android for Android applications. So it has the look and feel of the standard applications there, which a web browser won't give you. But one of the biggest benefits is the performance you get by just using a native application. Okay, the steps we need to do here is we need to install the required services module. We're also going to install the services views module as well. That's going to create our resource, and that will help us understand what we're going to be providing to the device. Then we're going to create a basic image gallery. We've done this oodles of times on Drupal Over Easy. And then we're going to use the views services to implement a resource on the image gallery. So the views resource will give us our resource, which we will connect with our endpoint just to provide the addressing for our application. And then we're going to test that. And we're just going to test that locally for this. Bear in mind, when you're developing something like this, you're actually going to have a remote application. In this case, it's going to be the Drupal image gallery. It's going to be a remote application. You're also going to have an application running on the device itself. For example, was Titanium. And when you've got two devices, and then you want one device to start talking and communicating with the other device, you've also got that part. So you've got three things to think of, both applications and the communication between the two applications. So you really want to start off with one application first, test that works, then switch over to the other application. You want to do this in a very stepped and tested methodology just to ensure that it works. Okay, so the modules we'll need, these are additional to views, are going to be the libraries module. services and views services. So I've created a brand new site for this. Okay, this is brand new. I just need to go to my modules, and I'm just going to enable the extra modules required. But before that, we can just jump to here's the project services. This is the thing that allows you to provide a connection point interface between Drupal applications and other device application software. We're going to be using version 3 here and explaining about the just the addressing that needs to be done for that. And we're also going to be using services views as well. So we're going to be installing this module here. It sort of creates a sort of a nice way of seeing the format of our view that we're going to be providing to our device application. Okay, so I'll go back to, we'll make a start. We'll just enable the correct modules here. I'll just zoom down. I believe I only need to enable, and scroll back up. So we need services, of course. Going to be using services views, and we need, yes, I know, views gives me a REST server, so I do need that. That's going to be the type of server I'm going to be implementing. I'm not going to be implementing authentication at this stage. In other words, I'm not going to be setting up any passwords or anything like that. I just want to demonstrate the services connection the services provides us. We are going to be using the REST server, and that's about it. That should be enough for me. So to save that. And so what are our steps here? Okay. Next step here is we're going to create a basic image gallery. So if we go to content types, add a content type. Let's just call this So this is a services gallery. In other words, it's just going to be providing the gallery functionality to a remote application. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to enable my scripting here. Okay, just set the default settings here. I'm not going to go into any detail. There's a number of previous tutorials of mine that discuss this. So turn off, we don't need menus, not for services. So we'll just save and add fields. Okay, I don't need the body, delete that. Now we're going to add an image field to this. Definitely need that for that gallery. This is very hard to see. Services gallery. So down here we'll add the image, basic image widget, save that. Save the settings here, go into the edit page. I'm going to basically keep all these settings here, set infinite here. This is just going to be a content type that can contain any number of image fields. Select and save that. Okay, this is good enough for me. Now I'm going to create some content. And let's just call this services image gallery, and we're going to add some images here, just any sort of images. Four images will be enough, so we can just save this. So we've got our basic image gallery here. So the next step, going to my tutorial, is use views services to implement our resource. So let's do that. So go into views, we're going to add a new view. Okay, I'm going to add our image field to fields. That's what we want to supply from our service. I think I use gallery. Here it is, services gallery. Apply that. And click on formatter. We've got services raw. I just want this is going to help me see the data that the service is going to provide. So I'm just going to select services raw here. That's better. Okay, I'm also going to add a filter here. I don't want everything on this site to be displayed, so I tend to override things here. So what we're going to add is a filter for our content type, which is select content type first, and apply this, and we're going to select services gallery. In other words, where anyone is. Okay, this should be fine is what it in the format it is. The key point here is going to be our field services gallery, and if we look on down here, we've got an array representing our images. And the key point here is it's going to be this public and the file name here. So I am going to have to rename these files. It's not good to have the gaps in between. It sort of gets filled out with characters. So I will fix that for part 2 of the tutorial. I'll rename these files so there's no spaces in that. But for this example here, it will work fine of extracting the data here. So we're going to have these where are we? So we've got the actual public, and the name of the actual files is the most important part. For the application, I can feed the address of where these files are located, but I need the names for the device on the following tutorial. So this is fine for where we are. I can now save this and move on to the next step, which is setting up our service itself, which is setting up the endpoint, resources, and service settings. So we're going to go to services, and we're going to add a service. I'll call it. This has got to be a machine readable name, all lowercase, and no spaces. Let's just try services gallery. Let's call it services image gallery. For the server, I'm going to select REST and path to the endpoint. This is one of the key things here. After putting in your website address, this is going to be the next thing that follows that. So let's just call this, let's just make it easy, just call it image. So it's going to have image following our website address. We're not going to use session authentication. That can probably follow in another tutorial. Save that. So here it is here. Now we have to go to the next step, is edit the resources here. So we've created our service, we now have to configure it. And service in the resources, this services gallery here was created by our views services module, the work that we just done before in services. So we're going to enable that. Okay, so we're happy with that. Let's check authentication. No authentication, we don't want authentication. For services, we're just going to use JSON as the method of communication for both response and request passing. Oh, that's the last thing I want to disable. So we're enabling JSON both for response and request passing. And look at the edits. So our actual address is going to be image / services gallery. Better enable that again. Save that. And just double check these settings are right. Nothing's changed. Oh, we better save these one at a time. Save that. So save each tab at a time. And why did I not disable that? Okay, so now we saved. Look at the edit settings. Might as well save that as well. And go. I just want to double check the resource again. That's fine. Services gallery. So my path to my service is going to be image. What's images? It's going to be image and then / services gallery to get my actual data. In this case, it's going to be the gallery we created. Okay, that should be fine. Close that down. So we've done that. What's the next step? Okay, we've configured this resource. The next thing to do is to test the resource. Okay, we're going to be testing the resource not by creating the device application, because that could have bugs in it, and we could get ourselves stuck in a position where is the bug in the Drupal application or is it in my device application? Let's use some proven software. So I'm going to use a piece of software called HTTP Requester, and this allows me to actually send JSON data to my Drupal service. And it also allows me to request data by issuing post and put commands as such. Okay, so here's an example of it here. This is the HTTP requester application, and this is provided with Firefox. Up here is the URL we're going to be entering, and here are and in this example here, not on the example we're working on, but this part here is the equivalent to the endpoint, and this part here is the resource itself. We'll change that, and we'll just do it now. We'll enter our data. So if we go back to our website, so the site itself is called tots01.local, so we'll have to enter that in first. tots01.local. Now, next path is our endpoint path, which was image. Now let's just reinforce that. If we go to our services again, we edit resources and go to edit. So the path to the endpoint is image, so that's what we enter here, is image. The next part we have to enter is the resource itself, so we go to resources. Down here it's services gallery, so we need to enter services gallery here. Misspellings will cause us a problem. Okay, so the request we're going to do on this is going to be a GET request. I can just submit that or select the GET button here. So it's going to be a GET request. We're actually going to provide a GET to the resource. We also, remember in the server we set up for JSON, so we need to have the content type header set up as JSON. You've got a few selections here. We need JSON. And it's a GET, so let's just select GET, see what happens. Okay, so the response data gets put on this window here. Services image gallery was what I created. It's got a node ID of 1, And down here, as you can see, all my images here. There is a flaw. I'm going to rename these images just to remove the spaces here. It does make it complicated on the device because these will be filled in with some other characters, which gets all confusing. So whenever you're going to be uploading or downloading pictures, don't have any spaces here like I've got here. It just makes things difficult on the device end, so I will fix that for the next tutorial. Okay, so this is working fine. Look for the status. 200 OK is good. There's plenty of error codes you could get if it doesn't work out properly. And just to reiterate, what we've done here is we've set up the site address followed by the endpoint, which we called image, followed by the resource, which we called services gallery. And we're just doing a simple GET request using the JSON content type as a header, and we're actually getting our the details of our image fields sent back to us. And this is enough information for us to actually use for the tutorial itself, for the device itself, to get the data back. So we'd use this information when you're writing the code just to get the approximate addressing of what you would require. Okay, that is it. Our service is now working. We put a GET request to it. We got the data submitted back. The data here is in a similar format to our, if we go to our view, it's in a similar format to this. It doesn't look like that, but it is in a similar format to that. So that's just proving to us of what we're seeing here is the right data returned by our service. Okay, that was all for this tutorial. This is a tutorial demonstrating on just how to set up a Drupal service and then testing that service. This Drupal service is mainly going to respond to GET requests from our device. In this case, our device was just testing. It was just the HTTP request Firefox tool, and that's fine. For the next tutorial, we're actually going to be doing the setting up the application on the iOS iPad, the titanium application for that, where we will actually extract the photos for this. Okay, thank you for your time and thank you for watching. Watch this space for part 2 of the tutorial where we use the titanium applications just to display the images on the device itself. Okay, thank you for your time. Bye for now.